Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello. Good evening, Dennis.
How are you?
I'm okay, mate. It should be Sir Dennis. And welcome all to Aston Villa Through the Years, Mortys Mixtapes. On this episode, Dennis, we're going to be talking about Gordon Taylor, Ronnie Biggs and Sugarloaf Mountain, the Super League, the Youth Cup, your final at Coventry City. So we're going to go back in time. We're also going to go back in time and we're going to start 40 years ago, the 2nd of May 1981, when after a 71-year wait, Aston Villa got crowned champions of England.
You make us sound old.
We are.
We are.
but
right.
Time flies so quickly,
does.
Dennis. What I have to also say is I'm loving your mixtapes, and for people that think, well, why is Gabbie called it Mortys Mixtapes? It evolves around football and music, and your love of music, your love of football, the mixtapes that you've sent me. We can't play any music on the podcast, but
No.
I attach the music to the podcasts, and one song in particular that I'm absolutely loving is Party Time Men by the Futures. And at 5 o'clock, or just after 5 o'clock that day, because the kickoff was delayed, you were Party Time Men, wasn't you?
Good segue.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love the bit halfway through when you get the Benny Hill theme song. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what came first, the Benny Hill or the Futures. Yeah,
I think definitely Benny Hill, because I remember watching Benny as a kid.
Yes.
I do believe that song came out in 1978, so that was in the second mixtape, because you did send me a collection of songs that evoked memories of the championship winning team season. For instance, "Rock with You" by Michael Jackson, "Love Will Find a Way" by Lionel Richie, "Holding Back the Years" by Simply Red, and "Rock Me Tonight for Old Time's Sake" by Freddie Jackson, which I have to say, I used to work in a nightclub in the early 80s, and that was a staple. And Andy Gray also used to have a nightclub in the 80s, so we might just touch upon the Holy City Zoo as well. But let's start at Highbury and the build-up to that game. Saturday, the 2nd of May, Aston Villa needed just a point. You didn't get the point, but ultimately Bosko Jankovic scored a couple of late goals, and Villa didn't need nothing. In fact, you actually didn't need to turn up that day.
Well, we didn't.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, we very nearly didn't, because we got stuck on the motorway as well.
Right.
Yeah, it was unusual really, because we'd normally go down the night before if we were playing in London. But for some reason, Ron decided not to go down on the. I don't know whether he just felt that it would be better for the guys to just relax at home and not be thinking about it. But when you've gone through a season where every game you played, it was exactly the same feeling. Yeah, whether you were staying at home or playing away. We would all have those thoughts of, well, are we going to go out and make a mess of it, or are we going to go out there and win a game? So, going down, for me, I think it was a mistake to go down on the day, because I don't think anyone realised how many fans were going to travel that way.
Yeah.
And the motorway was just chock-a-block. We actually had, the coach driver, we didn't have a police coordinator or sort of anyone helping us get there, but we probably needed to sort of get one, because in the end the bus driver, he was cajoled to go down the hard shoulder. to get past the traffic. Now we could have been pulled over by the cops, and that would have been even later getting to the ground.
Imagine that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, and we're just sitting there because obviously our focus is on the game, but also we've got this both a jam of cars, practically all the way from Northampton going to London.
Yeah,
it was just chock-a-block. Yeah, and we did make a mistake, I reckon, on that day from the point of view going down there. But I don't think it didn't affect our performance. I think, our performance is what we put in, really. And I think, Paul, a lot of people don't realise that Arsenal finished third that season.
They were a good team. Yeah.
They were a very good team,
absolutely.
And they'd beaten Ipswich as well, just previous to beating us. So they weren't no fools, but I think the expectation was, to win the game and make everything so easy, because God knows what it would have been like if Ipswich had beaten Middlesbrough, and we'd have had to have waited another week to see if we were champions. Now, I think that would have been difficult to take. I think that would have been tough. But when you look at it, and you reflect back on it, we won more games than them. The last game of the season didn't really matter. I suppose from a romantic point of view, to have got a win would have really sealed it, and or even a draw. Yeah, even a draw.
But in our series, Class of '81, and we did that podcast, you actually won more games than the defending champions, Liverpool.
Yes.
You won one more game. In your captain's log, in the wonderful book that you have, Aston Villa, First Division champions 1980 to 81, 40th anniversary tribute book, captain's log, we lost this match, but we won the title. For many Villa supporters, you lost that battle, but you won the war. It didn't matter. The season started back in August. It finished in May, and you won more games than anybody else. You were champions of England. End of.
Yeah, I think Ron mentioned it very early on in the season that if you win 26 games, which we did, which was the norm. Yeah, if you win 26 games, you've got a good chance of winning the league, and that was the level that Liverpool were at. Winning 26 games and going from there. But I'd for any fan, and being part of that, the only thing I can say is that we apologise that we couldn't get to see you this season. Because we had such plans with the AV40 to be out there, and mixing with you guys and going through all the memories and finding out what you were doing and how you got to matches and listening to your stories and you listening to our stories again, and that was what AV40 was going to be all about. But we hope that we can get started with AV40 once we get lift off from the COVID, but we're still keen to get out there and talk to the fans, and as we mentioned before, we do go into the 40th year of when we won the European Cup, so there's a double celebration going on, Paul, as we mentioned before. But those fans who were there, at Arsenal and everything, we're really keen, to sort of remember what you had to say, and the kind of thoughts that were going through your minds when there you are standing on the clock end and you're jammed in, and you're all listening to your radios, and that's how the message came down to us, really, on the pitch with 10 minutes to go. So we started to get a bit sort of squeaky bum time when we'd heard that Middlesbrough were winning, and we could see the crowd climbing over the wall and standing behind the goal. And we thought, well, this is going to be pandemonium when the whistle goes. So it was important that we were ready to get off the pitch. Not that we wanted to, but it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have been easy for us to get off the pitch afterwards, I don't think, Paul, if we'd have stayed on it, because the fans would have just been going crazy, and you know, the number of pats on the back probably would have gave us a bad back for about the rest of the week following that. But no, it was a great day, irrespective of the result, because you know we'd got the win. Well, we hadn't got the win, but we got through the season. We'd finished our last game, and we knew we were champions. So it was great afterwards, celebrating that.
Absolutely, and in the book, I'm going to give the references to all the Twitter and Facebook pages that you have. But I just want to look at, you've got the captain's log, because you did the captain's log, and the book is fantastic, and you do write about every game and your thoughts about those games. It's got some wonderful pictures at the bottom on that page of your captain's log when you played Arsenal. Gary Shaw really didn't half have a haircut, didn't he, that day? He's standing next to you and, well, Peter with and yourself, with a bottle of champagne in his left hand, Shawsy, which is pretty typical of Gary. He did like a toss. But you look at the league table, and let's just dwell on that for a moment. Aston Villa played 42. You're right, 126. Ipswich Town did have that game in hand, because they still had one game to play. They did get beat. So they played 42 and won only 23 games. So they won 3 games less than you. Arsenal, great team. You're right. Finished third. But they only won 19 games. So they won like 7 games less than you guys.
Yeah.
And the Albion won 20. 6 games less. Yeah. Nottingham Forest finished 5th. And Southampton would have made up what we know today as the Champions League places. Yes. They only won 19. So with all the top 6 there, Villa won 3 more than second, 3 more than second, 6 more than fourth, and the rest were 19. So 7 more than the rest of them. You know, you scored. In fact, Ipswich did score a couple of goals more than you guys. Yeah, they
scored a couple of goals more, yes.
And your goals against were exactly the same, but they did concede a few more in the last game of the season. So, you know, you won more games than them. You were the champions. Facebook, AV40 40th anniversary tribute page. On Twitter, it's AV40T, and the website that ties it all together is av40tribute.com. Now, you're right, Dennis, it will be 40 years when you won the European Cup, because in them days, the winners of the league went into the European Cup, unless you won it, as Liverpool did, and they also entered the European Cup that season that you won it. When will you be given the green flag to go out and meet the supporters? Have you any wind of that yet, or is it just watch this space?
Yeah, I think it's just watch this space. Yeah. You know, we're chomping at the bit, or champing at the bit, whatever it is. And the lads are desperate. Yeah. You know, to get out, because they're missing that connection with the fans, because as you probably know, the guys are up at the ground when we could get to the ground doing our corporate hospitality bit, and we've not been able to do that. But that's the time when we do mix with the fans, and we talk to the old and the new. We try to tell. It's quite interesting when you've got the old and they've got a grandson or something, and you have to explain to the grandson. You have to explain to the grandson that Aston Villa in 1980, 81, 82 actually won the league and European Cup, and the kid will look at you and think to yourself, "What do you mean you won the European Cup? When did Aston Villa win that?" Yeah, because they're not keeping up with the history. You see, 40 years on, you've got to buy the right books to find that history. Yeah, from the point of view of what's been written about Villa. And obviously this, today there's obviously so much written about the modern teams, with all the, the Twitters, the Facebooks, all the what's the name, all the television programs like Sky and BT. You know, they want so much coverage, but well, sometimes they miss the young ones, and the younger ones coming through to the game is that they sometimes miss the history of what the football club's all about, and you need to just check that out occasionally, you know. And it's quite surprising, you know, when we speak to the fans, you know, how the younger ones just sort of don't remember or have never been told, you know, about that fantastic time. But this is why we were hoping this would be something that we could really sort of connect with the fans again, you know, sort of 40 years on. And that we were hoping that it would then bring the younger ones in as well, because obviously they would probably go with the dads, or they go with the granddads, you know, to come out and listen to us and you know, listen to the answers we were given to the questions and everything, and talk to us afterwards, you know, and get autographs and everything, because that's what it's all about. I'm sure lots of people have got something that they want to get autographed from those days. Yeah, a ticket, a program or something, you know, and having all the players there at the same time, it would give them a great opportunity to get things autographed and make it a real memento, you know, from those days.
Absolutely. There is an autograph on the Arsenal versus Aston Villa ticket from 1981, the 2nd of May. Have a guess how much the ticket was? And bearing in mind now, at Arsenal, you almost have to remortgage your house to buy a ticket.
Yes, you do.
Can you remember how much the ticket was? And whose autograph was it on the ticket? Because I know you had a lot of input, didn't you, into doing this book with Jim Cadman, and you've done the foreword as well. So it's pretty much your baby as well as Jim's, isn't it? This book.
Yeah, very much so. You know, it was a joint collaboration, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Jim was the experience that we needed to bring both together. Yeah. And I'm just getting the book out here.
I was going to say you did seem to go away from me, Dennis. I'm guessing you was doing that.
Yeah, I'm just going in so I can have a look at that ticket.
Yeah.
See if I can remember. It looks like Gary Shaw.
Okay.
Yeah, look.
I mean, it looks like Coco the Clown, to be fair. I mean,
it actually could be.
Yeah.
It could be Alan Evans.
Oh, okay.
Let me just have a look now at I've got my autograph sheets out. I'm such a nerd, yeah, with these kind of things. Alan Evans, yeah.
It's Alan Evans.
It could actually be Alan Evans.
Wow, it looks nothing like Alan.
It
looks like 4 noughts, doesn't it, or circles, and yeah. But you know, if it's Alan Evans, it's Alan Evans.
Okay.
No one's going to sign that on a cheque, are they? To be quite true.
Actually, it could even be Gordon Cowans.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's right. Yeah, actually, this could be. It's not Alan. It could be Gordon Cowans. That one. Yeah.
And the price on it, £1.80. Probably
£1.80.
Yeah, it's incredible. One of the most enjoyable £1.80 that Villa supporters have spent to follow Aston Villa. And Pele was even there at the ground, wasn't he, that day?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, there's a picture in the book, isn't there, of Pele? Yeah.
We totally missed him because he wasn't part of our agenda.
Right, okay. Yeah. He never come to congratulate you at the end.
No.
Outrageous.
No. I don't know. He probably had to get to somewhere else because he
probably did.
He probably had another appearance somewhere. Yeah. You know, which these people like him, you know, I don't think they stay in one place too long. No. I think Pele, you know, what a name, Pele.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's different from Pepe, who plays for Arsenal at the moment. Yeah. But Pele, it's just synonymous with sort of with a man who is the best footballer in the world, and you know, he seems to be a bit of a gentleman as well, you know, and which could actually lead to the Copa Pele.
It certainly could do. We will talk about the Copa Pele next. But I want to go more in depth, Dennis. I want to do a lot more podcasts with you because we scratch surfaces in this, and I want to go more in depth. There's a story about Ronnie Biggs on Sugarloaf Mountain, so I think that it would only be right to talk about Ronnie in this podcast as well. But before we leave Aston Villa 40 years ago, you referenced a load of books. The Odd Man Out, fascinating story of Ron Saunders' reign at Aston Villa by Graham Denton. Ticket to the Moon, Aston Villa, The Rise and Fall of European Champions by Richard Sydenham. There is a Greatest Games of Aston Villa by James Driver Fisher. There's a lovely piece by David Harrison in Backpass magazine this month. Well, it usually comes out every couple of 3 months. Issue number 74. And there's also going to be another book written by my pal Colin Abbott, Barton's Army. That's obviously about when you conquered Europe, and I love the picture that it's got on the front. It's Dad's Army with all the references to where Villa went and conquered. So I'm looking forward to Colin's book, and also Colin's working tirelessly on the 80s book.
Tell me.
That bloke, him and Turnstile. They've educated me. I am not an Aston Villa supporter, but I have to say I'm really interested in what Aston Villa did between that time of Tommy Docherty to the end of Ron Saunders. To think that in 1971 you were in Division 3 and then in 1981 won the league.
Remember,
phenomenal.
Paul, remember now, when you say we were in Division 3 in 71. I wasn't.
No, neither was I. I was watching Birmingham City.
I was in Division 1.
I know you were, I
was in Division 1 at the time, and that was one of the weirdest things of all, really, was when I joined the Villa, because I've said it before, I knew very little about them. I'd seen them, I think it was the League Cup, when they got to the final against Norwich, and I remember seeing them. I think it was Chester in the
yes, I remember that game,
semi-final. I remember seeing that on the television because there wasn't many games on the television.
It was on Sports Night, wasn't it? That game
it
against
probably
Chester?
Was. It probably was. I mean, I'd say probably Villa were the second division, and Chester were, I don't know, they might have been the fourth division.
Probably, could have been,
probably. So. It was that was an interesting game to play to have on the television, but I remember I tend to remember that because I think Brian Little was there. I think it was interested in his long hair, his sweet cut. You remember the sweet?
Yes,
What was his name?
Brian Conley. Brian Conley, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think it was the Brian
Blockbuster.
It was funny, but no, it was I suppose that was an interesting time when Tommy Doc was there, because I think it was Doug Ellis, wasn't he, around then as well?
I would imagine so, yes, because
Doug, some guys.
Doug liked to fire managers, didn't he?
He did,
Doug liked his own way, and I guess you have got an Aston Villa stand there that goes by the Doug Ellis stand. I would take that name off, and whether you want to call it the class of 81, but I think that there should be some reference to the greatest achievement that Aston Villa have ever had, winning the league and winning the European Cup. It's the greatest feat in we've been playing football in this region, in the Midlands, since the mid 1800s. Nobody's ever done that. You guys done that. That's a special achievement, and I think that should be honoured properly. If I owned Villa, that's what I would do. I'd also have a statue of you outside Villa Park next to McGregor.
You're not a billionaire, though, you see.
Sadly, I ain't got a pot to piss in, Dennis.
That is the big problem now of owning a football club, is especially in the top end, you need to be a billionaire.
Yeah. But you also should look at your history. And
yes, we should.
and if you own that club, I think you should buy into that history. And I don't mean financially, but you should understand the fabric of that football club, what it means to the supporters, and what the honours, the achievements have been, because that's what makes a football club, not a team, but a club. All of you players that were around in them days should be around these days in corporate hospitality, meeting the supporters, because fans love to. I find it absolutely amazing that fans do not understand what a fantastic achievement you guys achieved all those years ago. I can't get my head around that.
No, we, as players, we talk about it quite a bit, really, about how we should be recognised at the football club, Paul.
Yeah.
And what we talk about, and this is what I've been talking with Jim about as well, Jim Cadman.
Yeah.
Because Jim's had experience of putting statues up, the 3 degrees in West Bromwich.
Yeah, Jim's a good lad.
Yeah, what's the name?
Duncan?
Don Revie, at Leeds.
Was Jim behind that as well?
Yeah, he got a statue for Don Revie. Yeah, he was behind that one. Yeah, so, and I've spoken to him about, what would be a good tribute to us. And what we've come up with really is a commemorative plaque, which we think should be put on the wall then, outside the ground, in bronze, a 3D image of all the players' faces, sort of poking out, with the 2 trophies, sort of poking out as well. And that would be both squads all on one plaque.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what we talk about. Yeah. Because we just feel that it's the right time to do it. But we can only be governed by the club and what they think and what they feel, and their wishes and everything. It's all down to them. It's not down to us. Yeah, but we would hope that if once we start getting back out there and everything, we could start sort of charging the fans really with this kind of information. Because you remember when Ron died, and there was a lot of support sort of voicing that there should be a plaque or a statue of Ron put up or something.
I would agree.
To commemorate.
I would agree.
And and there was a lot of talk at the time about it, but it just died. It died a death really. Especially with COVID, because the fans couldn't really keep pushing it from the point of view of like, if you turn up at the game on a match day, you would see the chief executive, you would see some of the people involved with Aston Villa, walking the sort of the corridors of the restaurants and everything. And, you could go and tap them on the shoulder and say, well, what are you doing about Ron Saunders? And, ask the question. It's an important question to ask for me, from my point of view, because I think, as you mentioned before, people like Ron, who brought so much success to the football club, deserve to be recognised by the football club in a big way. Yeah, not a chairman who, as far as I'm concerned, was just, one of those guys who just felt that he was bigger than the football club. Yeah, and so that contributed to him then thinking that he should have a stand named after him. But I don't know whether we can get anything done about that. But certainly, if there was ever an opportunity where the fans wanted to rebel against it and everything, you've got me behind you as well. But the problem is that there's too many fans who remember him and, don't remember Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the team of 1980-81. If you were to ask young players of today, name the captain, unless they've done some homework, they'd probably find it difficult. Yeah, because we're not people who are out there all the time sort of pushing ourselves. Yeah, we're not on television. We're not asked about Aston Villa. I find it quite interesting these days that very few people will ask any of our team for a comment about what's going on at the moment. Yeah. About, players coming in, players going out, how the team playing, what do you think of everything, so we don't seem to get that. But I do read when I'm on the internet, I do see plenty of ex-Villa players who are putting opinions out there, who are a lot younger than us, and their names are still a bit more synonymous with the club, and they get a voice on the internet, but we don't now. We're sort of we've fallen by the wayside. But certainly a commemorative plaque, I think, would be the ideal thing that would be put on the wall, to commemorate. And I would hope, that could be something that we get done in the next few years, because I really do feel that it's deserved.
100%, Dennis, and in reference to some of you guys in the two squads, or Ron really pretty much built a couple of squads there, didn't he? Because 1976-77 season, you could argue that Aston Villa was probably better than the 1980-81 squad, or it would run it a very, very close equal. You were very, very close in terms of winning the treble for the first time in Aston Villa's glorious history. And that's what happens because you don't win. And we said this on the first podcast that we did. Because you don't win, it actually gets forgotten. But it shouldn't get forgotten because you were so close. You probably just played too many games in the League Cup. You got to the final, obviously, and won it against Everton. You had the mammoth semi-finals against Queen's Park Rangers, and just probably just ran out of steam. But again, when you look at what you did in that season, it was groundbreaking, and all that was down to Ron Saunders. And I think that these memories should never be forgotten. And also any of you guys, because I am doing a regular podcast with you. I'm working on Shoresy to be the next one. I've done Tony Morley. Morley, what an absolute ledge. And can I say, one of the funniest guys I've ever interviewed. He had me in stitches, Tony Morley. Superb. The characters that you had in that dressing room and around dressing rooms, again, shouldn't be forgotten. But any of you guys that want to do something that's more up to date, I'll phone you up after games and we can put your views out. We can get them out on social media, because I would rather listen to Dennis Mortimer and Tony Morley and Gary Shaw and players that I used to go down Birmingham City and watch the Blues. All my friends were Villa supporters, and I suppose there's an argument that when we started playing football and going to the big school, I should have gone down Villa Park with all me mates that I played football with. But I'm very, very aware of how great Aston Villa were, because I had it thrown down my mouth, every day at school. But so any of you guys that want to do that and be involved in the now, I am more than happy to do anything that I can for you guys and help you as much as what I can.
There's only one big problem about that, Paul, is that, whenever you go on there and you try to be honest, there's certain people don't like you being honest.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it becomes a difficult thing then, because it can sound sometimes like sour grapes. But
no, it's not.
It's not. We know that, Paul. You and I know that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We know that. But you tend to find that football clubs don't like bad publicity. They don't like players being or people, ex-players, talking about the way they're playing and and how the team performing, because it's sometimes. Fans will listen to us sometimes, but they'll make their own opinion as well, because they'll always think that the sun shines out of the backside of the team that's playing at the moment, and
of course they do. Yeah.
they can never do anything wrong. But when things do go wrong, it's when the fans sometimes need to be honest with themselves.
Yep.
Around the displays that the team are putting in. So you can't. I look at the internet after every game, when the Villa play, and I see remarks being put on by, people who are on the internet and all that, and and names that seem to sort of the fans know, because they're always the same ones, and I just read so much rubbish at half the time, about what people are saying, and but sometimes people are talking from an emotive point of view. It's all about their team and what they feel like. I mean, it'd be quite easy for me to criticise Liverpool, because I'm not an ex-Liverpool player but I've got plenty to say because I'm from Liverpool. I supported Liverpool, my family at Liverpool, and you do that. But as soon as you start saying anything that might be detrimental, to the team you played for, then sometimes you get frowned upon.
You do.
Not by the fans, but by the club.
I think it's a double whammy, Dennis. I think you get frowned upon by the fans and from the football club.
You can do.
I do a lot of work with Alan Hudson, and people will comment and say, "Oh, it's only one or two. Well, all Uddy ever does is badmouth us." Well, no, he doesn't. Uddy tells the truth. Uddy's one of the most honest person that I've ever known. I mean, when Chelsea won the FA Cup in 1970, they had a reunion last year because it was the 50th anniversary, or was it 60? I mean, my maths isn't very good, but it was a long time ago, Dennis.
Long time ago.
1970. Yeah. But Alan Hudson didn't get an invite to Stamford Bridge. All the others were there, but Uddy wasn't.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? Really?
It is, it's an absolute disgrace, but that's how football clubs and football fans sometimes are. But I think you have to just rise above that. And, your opinion, Alan Hudson's opinion, winners' opinions hold more water than players or ex-players that have won nothing.
Well, I think you all you try to be is honest.
Absolutely,
that's all you want to be. You just want to be honest, And
there's no sour grapes.
And I even when I watch the television and watch Match of the Day, I just find sometimes the ex-players they're not really, sort of, I feel, saying what they want to say.
Of course they're not. They're anti-tied,
They're anti-tied,
it's bullshit.
You like if Match of the Day was criticising the referees every time and showing loads of mistakes they made. I'm sure the Referees Association or the Premier League or someone would start saying, look, you can't do this. You're threatening the game really by ex-players continuously bashing the referees. Well, they need a bashing because the professional people. They're rubbish. They are. They are
the worst I've ever seen.
They are. I would totally agree. And VAR, was put there to help them, but it's not. It's actually an hindrance to them because they're now panicking because they've gone over to look at the pictures. They've gone over to look at the telly, and because they've gone over the telly now, there's a standard thought now in the commentator on the telly. He says, "Oh well, once he goes over to the television, it's a red card." Or it's going to be it's now going to be sort of cancelled out. And it's and then when Sky when Match of the Day or Sky or whatever show it back and everyone's looking at each other thinking, well, what's he giving a red card for there? I mean, if you want to look at it from the point of view of like Europe and England, right? So I'm watching Chelsea versus Real Madrid last night. And I see a tackle by Cassis, who to me now is a bit of an assassin in midfield for Real Madrid. Takes no prisoners. Well, he's gone right through Mount late in the second half. His both legs have gone through him. He's taken his legs out from underneath Mount. And although he's got the ball, he's gone through the player. He's gone through the player. Now, if you go back to West Ham at the weekend, when the wing, the centre half got sent off for just kicking the ball, and the player coming onto him, because of his momentum, and he got a red card. Now we know it's been rescinded, but if that player had stayed on the football pitch, West Ham might have scored a goal.
Said exactly the same to Tom.
They might have scored a goal. But you see, the referee to me now, he's if you see the Cassis one, if it had been in an England game in England and played it, he'd have been sent off for it, straight red card. So what is the difference between Europe and England? Yeah,
I don't know, Dennis, because years ago it used to be the other way around.
it was.
You'd get yellow cards and red cards in Europe, but you wouldn't in the first division or the beginning of the Premier League. But now it's completely turned full circle, and it's just getting ridiculous. It's getting pedantic. It was bought out. VAR was bought out for clear and obvious errors. Now, if you have to look at something a couple of times, that ain't clear and obvious to me, so you don't look at it. I done a podcast with Matt Letizia when it first started, and Matt said it will create more problems than it solves. And Matt said, I'd said to Matt, do you think it'd be a good idea to have a former pro sitting there with the referees, because the referees know the rules, but they don't know the game. They've never played the game. Professional footballers have played the game, and it's about time we started listening to our former players. They could make a massive difference, but unfortunately, the referees tend to be so arrogant that they won't do that.
Yeah, well, I said that myself a long time ago. Yeah. Well, that an ex-player needs to be in that studio watching the games and to give his feedback, you know, and I think there'd be more honesty then. And it's not to undermine the referee's decision. It's the fact that professional footballers do say that, to a referee, you've never played the game. You don't know what is a bad tackle. You don't know what. You don't know. You see loads of players now who are both going for the ball. Yeah, and one of them gets there just before, and because he feels now he's taking a bit of a tap on his foot, he goes down. Yeah. But he's only going down for one reason. Yeah. And that reason now is to get that player booked. And I find that unsavoury, for footballers. And but if I, so from my point, but I always find that the referee, when something like that happens, the player's on the floor giving it all the facials, and holding onto his foot. And when we see the replay on the match of the day or whatever, we see that there's no contact. Yep. And yet this player now, this is me now, where I think the referee, all he does now, he takes out a yellow card, just walks up to the player, and because the player can't argue with him, he's not allowed to. He can't say anything. You have to accept it. And you can see players going away saying, I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him. Nowhere near him, So having that quick, and you can, we see that replay very quickly, on the television. So there's no reason why. And from my point of view, I can see those things pretty quick, and I know whether a player is feigning, injury, and it's because if they were that badly hurt, they'd go off the pitch, but they don't. They stay on the pitch,
And they go sprinting for the next ball because
they do.
Absolutely
or they take the next free kick and stick it in the back of the net with the foot that's just been injured.
Absolutely. Now, if Chopper Harris or Graham Souness or players like that had kicked them,
got no chance.
Absolutely,
They wouldn't have lived in the game today.
It's just crazy, and I just think they're taking away a part of the game, and it's quite ridiculous because at the end of the day, it's football. It's a man's game. It's a contact sport, and there's part of that game that we need to have in there. In old reference, what we would say as kids, you turn it into a puffs game. But again, the PC brigade will say, you can't say that today. Well, I'm sorry, on our podcast and that we do, because we say it as we see it. We're not offensive. We just talk in old language, in old money, because we're old people. And that's just the way it is, Dennis. That's how I see it. And they're trying to change everything. The Premier League changed an awful lot. Now I see a Premier League Hall of Fame. You don't need a Hall of Fame from the Premier League. The Football League started in 1888. We've always had a Hall of Fame. And it's only a way of not recognising older players. They're trying to take away all of our history. And I think the fans need to fight back and keep hold of that history, because they will get rid of it if they possibly can.
Does the National Museum know? Does it not have, sort of history from the
that does,
early days?
yeah, absolutely.
It does, yeah.
But it's the TV thing that they're trying to take it away, aren't they?
It's
Premier League,
what it's
Premier
all
League,
about.
Premier League.
Yeah. Everybody wants to sort of have an opinion. Well, who's the best player? You see, I mean, I just reading today that Ryan Giggs is being taken out. Yeah. You know, now nothing's been proven yet.
Absolutely,
around what's going on. So the prejudging, but isn't this now the time we live in where he's guilty? Well, he's not guilty at the moment. Nothing's been said. So if now he's found not guilty, are you going to put him back in there?
Absolutely, and compensate him.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's in a way, it's slanderous in a way, and it's a shame, because when you look at it, when you really look at it, Ryan Giggs, the number of games he played, the number of goals he scored, the performances he put in for the fans, to me, for me, I just think he's been one of the greatest players that Man United have ever had.
Absolutely,
And what we've had in Britain, he's just he was just a magnificent footballer. But do you talk about Ryan Giggs in the same sort of sphere as George Best? Well, for me, I would, because I didn't see a lot of George Best. I saw a lot of Ryan Giggs, an awful lot. And so when I look at that, I think to myself, well, Giggsy, there's something that you've got to applaud about the way that guy played the game.
Absolutely, great player. One of our greats.
We're too quick to condemn. In this today's age, but this museum, sort of getting the best player. Who's voting? I like. Is it going to be like 80,000 Arsenal fans now?
Well, this is your problem, isn't it?
Who are going to pretend that they're from all different clubs? Because did I tell you the first time when I was on about the Coventry City thing?
No.
About I think it was 1920. I think it was in just 200. I've got it all written down somewhere, but in the 2000s, they had on Midlands Today, BBC Midlands Today. They had they had this. You had to pick the greatest sporting event over the last 30 years, right? So it was about 2002, I think. So obviously in that 30 years was us winning the league and winning the European Cup. Also in that period was Coventry City winning the FA Cup. Right. So you had to vote now. So it was people had to send in their votes, from all over for the greatest sporting event. Well, the greatest sporting event that took place in those 30 years was Aston Villa winning the European Cup in the Midlands. This is in the West Midlands.
100%, no argument there.
Nothing could match that.
No, not at all.
But we came second.
Incredible.
And obviously Coventry came top. So I said to Nick Owen when I saw him the next time, I said, Nick, how did that happen? And he just looked at me. I said, I know how it happened. I said, you allowed loads of Birmingham fans, loads of West Brom fans, to now gang up against us so that we didn't get the top prize.
But how stupid is that?
I know, but this is it. You see, I mean, if you want to stop something, and you've got a vote on it, if you've got loads of people from outside the area or not involved with that club or the anti that club, then they're gonna vote separately. So it was a big shock to me, really.
I mean, sadly, what you do get is a lot of stupid people in football. You get a lot of great people as well. But I always say football brings out the best and brings out the worst in people. Now, I got to the first game of football I watched was on the Holt End. I watched an England youth game, with my dad took me down there, but he was a Birmingham supporter, and he took me down at Birmingham, and I used to love to go down to St Andrews and watch the likes of Charlie George and Charlie Cook and Alan Hudson and Stanley Bowles and all the great players, and he'd point them out to me. It's fantastic. But, you know, if somebody said to me, what's the greatest achievement in the last 30 years, I'd be saying, look, whether you're looking at the last 30 years or since 1888, Aston Villa winning the European Cup was the greatest achievement, period. There's no argument. I don't know why you have to put that to a public vote, because if you do, then I'm sorry, you know nothing about football.
Well, I can understand it, but you know, if it was to find out the best sporting individual, whatever, for, you know, over the last 30 years, then that would be different because it's an individual. But when you're looking at a team,
absolutely,
you know, it's and you've got all these clubs around the West Midlands who have got loads of fans who don't want to vote for Aston Villa.
But just be
probably the Villa fans. Probably the Villa fans though should have sort of realised that and should have got themselves voted a bit more. Yeah, they should have. They probably felt that it was a foregone conclusion.
It was nailed on.
Yes, but not enough of them voted. Yeah.
Absolutely. What has come out recently, Dennis, is there's going to be a documentary on BT, isn't there? That's commemorating the class of 81, then 82 as well. The two seasons. It's going to be both, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be both. Yeah, it's something that we've been Jim and I have been talking to the people at BT for the last 2 or 3 months. Yeah, and they approached us to do a film and you know about winning the league and winning the European Cup. And you know, the shows I've seen on Sky on BT and everything, they've been great. You know, when you get an inside look at out like a season's gone or something like that. You know, like the first one I ever remember watching was the Man City one. You know, which was very, very interesting. And but this now is obviously 40 years on, and this will be a reflecting back on it. So but there'll be interviews with the guys. Yeah. So and then obviously that'll be mixed up then with footage.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about BT is that they own all the rights to the Champions League and the European Cups and everything. You know, they're going to be able to put something really special together for us. You know, so that's something we're really looking forward to. And again, it's one of those things that would be a great promotion for Villa again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you know, people out there will again get an opportunity to realise, you know, that in 80, 81, 82, there was something special happening in at Aston Villa, and you know, by us being filmed again as well, it would just give us a little bit more. A bit more thought to the fact that, you know, Aston Villa got to realise that, you know, in this day and age, you've still got to think about, you know, what went on in the past. You know, I always think about the cup belonging to us, you know, not the Villa.
You did win it. Let's be honest.
I always think we should go in there and demand the cup. Yeah, the league championship and the European Cup and the super plaque for the Super Cup. You know,
but in my lifetime, Dennis, you're the only one that's ever bloody lifted it.
But we, you know, so from my point of view,
it's mine.
I just think we should be able to borrow it whenever we want.
Well, you should do, because you bloody well won it. I mean, that's the thing. It is all about the club. Yes, of course it is. It's the club, but it's those special players that won it for the club, and they should never be forgotten. Graham Denton actually posted on one of the Villa groups this week about in the European Cup final. Had it have gone to penalties, he'd put that Gordon was taking the first penalty, Alan Evans, Peter With, Swaney and Shawsey were going to take the 5. Is that correct? Did you ever plan to take penalties in the 82 final?
It's funny, isn't it? So funny. I mean, how he came up with that, I don't know. He's just speculated. Yeah,
absolutely.
That is just that's pure speculation on his part. Yeah.
Got ya.
You know, no one had any idea who we take, because
Really,
one or two of us might have been subbed.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. There was no talk by Ron who was going to take the 5 penalties.
Listen,
Yeah,
well, it was Tony Barton, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, of course it was Barton's army.
Listen. I go back to '77 when we won, when we beat Everton, and I read in the programme, the following week after we'd won it, up at Old Trafford, I read in the programme notes the following week that if it had gone to a draw, we were going to take penalties, right? Now, as far as I was concerned, that was news to me. Yeah, and I'm sure it was news to a lot of the other players, because Ron would never have ever put that to us before the game.
Got ya. Yeah.
That if it's level at the end of extra time again, guys, we've got penalties. Yeah. He wouldn't have done that, because that would have been that would have put even more pressure on those people who are now going to take the penalty. So if you're in extra time now and it's 0-0 or 1-1 or 3-3 or something like that, and the thought of penalties is coming up, the one thing that you don't want, because that's just a lucky dip, that one then. That's not. You could call it skill, but not necessarily skill, because the guy who blasts the ball into the roof of the net, he's just open that he is to target. Yeah, the guy who tries to place it in the corner and the keeper goes the right way, there's a little bit of skill in that one, thinking that you could beat him in the corner, So, to me, it's just a lottery. Yeah, but Ron never told us. And so going into the final of the European Cup, there was no talk about penalties and all that. We would have come to that. So, again, it's speculation on the part of... the people who talk about it and write about it, because unless they knew more than I did,
you lifted it.
I thought I was quite privy to talking to Tony Barton before we went out. But because none of us knew about Jimmy. You know? Jimmy came off after 10 minutes. So none of us knew about Jimmy's bad neck. Yeah, so that was a big surprise when Jimmy's now. The ball's gone out of play and Jimmy's walking over. He's got his extra pair of gloves underneath his arm, shaking his head, and we're all going, "Where's he going?" The game hasn't finished, has it? Yeah.
Oh, Munich.
Yeah, we've only gone 10 minutes, Jim. another 80 to go. No, that was. I mean, we were just looking around at each other, thinking, "Where's he going?" Yeah. And then Spinksy comes running on and becomes a hero. Yeah.
But this is what I love, getting the stories from the players, not supporters or people that think they know what's going on, the players that actually play in those games.
See, what I'm telling you is what I know.
Exactly.
But somebody else, like Tony Morley or Gary Shaw might come up with a different story or might know something different. So these are the things that yourself. Yeah, and they're the only things you can tell. You can't go whispering something that you never heard or you didn't realise was going to happen, Paul.
Absolutely. Another thing that I watched Villa against the Albion, and actually went with me stepson and me son-in-law, because they're both season ticket holders at Villa. So they dragged me down to Villa Park, and I actually do like going to Villa and watching Villa, but I'm going to keep that a little bit quiet to all my Birmingham City supporters. Mind you, most of them have blocked me on social media anyhow, so it doesn't really matter. But the Albion turned you round. When you were the captain and you won the toss, was your first thought, I'm going to turn these around when we're playing away, because they don't like it?
No, I never had that problem.
No. Did you never turn teams around?
No, I wouldn't. Like if we were at Liverpool, I wouldn't turn it round.
Got ya.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They're still going to be shooting, towards the cop end. In the first half, so they could score 4 or 5 then in the second half. Yeah, the game's all over. No, I never. And whenever, as captain, I never thought about sort of doing a nasty one.
Yeah.
On someone and saying, we know you like to kick that way. Yeah. So if I win the toss, I'm going to I'm going to turn it around so that you're not going to be kicking into your favourite end in the second half.
Got ya.
Where you think you're going to get an advantage.
Yeah.
Because the advantage might already be over by then.
Yeah.
So I never got into those kind of things. It wasn't worth it. Yeah.
You did get into a podcast with Alan Hudson, and that's coming out very shortly as well.
Yes.
So I'm really looking forward to that. We did talk about Pele about 40 minutes ago. So let's briefly talk about Sugarloaf Mountain. We're going to do another podcast, and we're going to really talk in depth about that tour. We also want to talk about Gordon Taylor as well, because you're right. You alluded to the fact that people, when you have an opinion and it doesn't meet the narrative, people do try and shout you down. But our podcasts aren't like that. We talk about players' opinions, players' feelings, and what they know from the inside. Because it's all right as a fan, you're looking on the outside, but you don't know what work people like Gordon Taylor have done. So, first of all, let's talk briefly about Ronnie Biggs, Sugarloaf Mountain, and then we'll go into the great Gordon Taylor. Gordon Taylor on the wing for Birmingham City in the Penguins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in 1989, I got an invite to go and play in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, in what was called the Copa Pele.
Yeah.
Now, what this was the 6 teams that had won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So you had Brazil, West Germany, Italy, Uruguay, Paraguay, and now you should have had England, Paul.
Yeah.
but we had to go as Great Britain.
Yeah. Did Italy go? Because Italy have won the World Cup as well. Paraguay,
that's what I said. Brazil, West Germany, Italy, Uruguay.
Oh, yeah, got you.
Yeah. They were part of the 6. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, really. They were so dapper, the Italians. Everything what they took to Brazil was about playing in a hot country. Everything was light and airy and sort of just floated. Yeah. But the kit we had, it was what you wore in the winter. It was shocking. But the worst thing about it was great. We had to go as Great Britain. Yeah. And the story really behind that is because when Gordon Banks, who'd been given the opportunity to put it together by the FA, he was looking around to try and get English players to go who represented England at some stage, whether full international or other levels, and to go and play in this tournament. He couldn't get enough.
Incredible, isn't it?
England players. He couldn't get enough. So he had to get some Scots in, some Scottish players. Yeah. And to make it up. Now, there was no way they were going to go as England.
No chance.
Yeah. There's no way they would have done that. I mean, if I was asked to go and play for Scotland, I'd have been quite happy to have gone under the name of Scotland.
Yeah, I'd like to be fair.
You know what I mean? But the other way around, no, can I do that? Yeah. Anyway, so we had a really decent squad, and one of our squad members was the late Frank Worthington.
Oh, legend.
Yeah, I know. And the Scots guys who came in were Martin Buchan, Kenny Burns, John Robbo, and who was the other one? I think that was it, actually. The 3 of them, just the 3 of them. So there was just the 3 of them. Yeah, John Robbo, Gordon, Kenny Burns, and Martin Buchan.
Because Buchan was the first one to win the Scottish FA Cup and the English FA Cup, wasn't he?
Was he the first, was he?
Yeah, he's the first, okay. Martin Buchan.
Yeah, well, there's some good stories to tell you, so I don't know whether you want me to tell them now or we talk about it some other time and get into Gordon, but there's plenty to talk about.
What happened with Ronnie Biggs and Alan Whitlock, Sugarloaf Mountain?
Well, we were staying in Sao Paulo, so we had a day off, and we were offered an opportunity to fly up to Rio.
Yep.
And we all jumped on the plane and thought, this would be great. While we're here, we might as well do it. Yeah. So a lot of us, decided, well, we want to go up Sugarloaf, because it's the place to be, and it's a great view and everything. So there's two parts to Sugarloaf, for those who don't know. So as we're travelling up in the lift now to get up to the first part, there's a guy in the lift now, and one or two of the guys, in particular, Alan Whittle, Alan just looked around and said to us, he says, "Don't look, but it's that Ronnie Biggs." When someone says "Don't look,"
everyone
what's
does.
the first thing you do?
Everyone looks, don't they?
So it was a quick glance, and oh yeah. So Alan then started talking to him. And he was having a chat with him and all that. And what his role was is, if people haven't seen the story that they had on him many years ago, is that he would it's like getting the plane to Spain, and when you get off it and you're coming down the steps, the photographer's taking your photo.
Yeah.
And then when you come back to leave, they've stuck your photo now up in the departure lounge for you to buy if you want to buy this photograph of you doing that. Well, that was what Ronnie was doing. So he was making his way up to the first level, where he would walk around, and obviously people either were told that Ronnie was there or they knew him, because obviously there'd be a lot of tourists, and they'd have a photograph with him.
Got ya.
And so what would then happen then is you'd go up to the second level. So by the time you came back from the second level, you'd be able to go to these shops, and then you'd find a picture of yourself with Ronnie Biggs, either on a cup or a plate, or just a normal picture.
Yeah.
And that was how Ronnie made a living.
I thought you was going to say Ronnie was taking the photos. I thought, what a come down from being a great train robber.
No, he wasn't doing selfies. Yeah. So that was, and obviously I was a bit of a camera buff, and I would take my camera around with me all the time. So Alan asked me to take a photograph of him with Ronnie, I thought, okay, I'll do that. But nobody else wanted a photo with him. Yeah, we all thought it was in a bit of a. It was one of those. I'm not too sure I want to take a photo with Ronnie for what he's reputedly done. Yeah. But you go all over the place, and what you do, you bump into Ronnie Biggs, on Sugarloaf Mountain. Yeah.
Well, one of Al's best mates is Tommy Wisby, who was also one of the great train robbers as well.
No, I read about it. I read about it in one of his letters he sent on the internet. Yeah.
Oh, the post.
He's a good writer, isn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic.
A good writer.
And I love the way that Uddy goes from something that's happened now, and he goes back in time and brings it back. He's an extremely. I said to Uddy, I don't know what was best, Uddy, your pen or your right foot.
No, he's very good.
Yeah, it is. He's superb. Yeah. Another player that's been very good in his role, Gordon Taylor, head of the PFA. Now, I know that people say that Gordon wasn't, or Gordon was this, or Gordon was that, but Gordon's been there ever since I was a kid. I mean, I remember watching Gordon Taylor at St Andrews, and he got that barrel chest with a penguin strip, and he was a great little player. And he's done a great job for the PFA, hasn't he? It's almost as though, what did the Romans do for us? And when you look back in his time at what he's done, you go, well, he's done underfloor eating, he's invented the wheel, he's done this, he's done that. He's had a great career as the chairman of the Football Association of the PFA.
Yeah, no, he's someone that I've always applauded, really, for what he did. I mean, he a couple of times he got me involved with the PFA from the point of view of jobs.
Yeah.
And this is what the PFA was about, really, at times, was to try and bring ex-players back into the fold and give them roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the couple of roles that I did with the PFA were very significant roles. Yeah. But there's a tremendous book out for anyone who really wants to find out about Gordon Taylor. There's a book out called Behind the Glory, 100 Years of the PFA. Yeah, so that's, this was written a few years ago. So it just tells you how long the PFA had been in things. But Gordon actually took office in 1982. Yeah. That's when he actually became the head of the PFA. And this is a quote. This is a quote that he told the national newspapers. Yeah. He said, all the battles the players needed to fight against the maximum wage, for freedom of movement and now freedom of speech have been won. What we need now is cooperation between all the bodies in the game to stop the kind of disputes and mudslinging that, I'm sure, have helped disillusion the public. That was when he took office, right? So he had a big job on. He had a really big job, to sort of to now get his teeth into. And so if you think about today, and you think about the disillusion of the public, then it's there again now. With obviously the Super League. What's going on? What is going on? But the thing about what I want to talk about really is that to me, I just think Gordon Taylor. So he joined in 82. So you're looking now to 40 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he's retiring from the position at the end of this season. So that's 40 years now, nearly, that he's been in charge of a union. And from my point of view, I think he's done an absolute. And if you read what he's done and what he's actually done for the PFA, and the players, you'd have to realise then that the guy actually has worked damn hard, as a union leader, to help the PFA. And I know Gordon's an OBE, so he got the OBE, a few years ago. But for me, I'm one of those people that really thinks because of what he's done and now he's retiring, I really feel now that he should be knighted, because if it was any other organisation from a union point of view, to have someone in that long who's actually looked after the players, and to me, in a special way, I just feel now he needs to have more recognition for what he did. I don't want people to think now, Gordon Taylor, he was on £2 million a year. Well, that's by the by. Gordon Taylor, was given that remuneration because that was what his worth was to the PFA. But you can't hold that against him for what he's done, Paul. You've got to do is read about Gordon Taylor and what he did for football. And this book really gives it straight to you.
But you see, in terms of his money, £2 million, if that's what he did earn a year, when you're looking at, he's representing the players of today as players of yesterday. He's the head of the Professional Footballers Association. There's players today that are probably earning that in a couple of months. Players are earning a ridiculous amount of money today, and what they're earning actually dwarfs the head of the organisation. So you could argue he ain't earning enough money from it in the modern game.
Well, you look at the top managers and how much money they're earning. So Gordon's now the head of as you mentioned, players who now are making absolute fortunes. And so what he's getting is very small compared. What they're trying to compare it with is other union top guys, but no one's running a union like he is, where the money that is being put into the game and the money that's being taken out of the game. What Gordon's trying to do is with his role is to try to help those players who aren't getting those big fees, the big wages, and trying to help them when they're down on the luck. And you think about players who like Gary Charles. Now Gary was he was an alcoholic. And he he's one of those guys now that runs his own rehabilitation. But while he was going through those stages, I'm sure the PFA would have been there helping him, to try and sort him out, because what the PFA always wanted to do, Paul, was look after their own. And if they could help, them, they would help them. Yeah. Now, I look at, let me just read this out to you about Gordon's role, and all the sort of the jobs he did. He had the PFA's role and position where while himself becoming a major figure in a national game, in 1992 became president of FIFRO, the International Professional Footballers Union, which you mentioned, stepping down in 2005. Remains FIFA's honorary president. Yeah. He is also a member of the Football Foundation, the FIFA Football Committee, UEFA and FA committees, and the Institute of Professional Sport. He received an honorary master's degree for his services to football from Loughborough University, and also holds an honorary doctorate from De Montfort University. He was appointed Officer of the Order of the British Empire in 2008 in the New Year's Honours. So, a hell of a lot of roles there he's playing. Absolutely. Yeah, and he's juggling them all the time, and what he's trying to do. And so, what people have got to remember about Gordon and his role is that Gordon is not there by himself. He has people working with him and for him. So if something comes into him, and it's directed to him, that letter will probably be read by a secretary, and then it will be sort of either pushed in the direction where it needs to go, or it'll go straight to Gordon. Yeah. Now, if it's directly sort of for Gordon Taylor, private and confidential, then it'll go to Gordon. But he's going to read it. But what he's going to do then is because of so much what he's doing for the players, he's going to then pass that on to someone else who's working for him, whose role is to do that. Is to look after anything that Gordon now feels that falls into their remit. So he's going to do that. So he can't keep a tab on everything that's going on.
No, it's quite impossible. Yeah,
it is. So one of the reasons why we brought this up is because I just feel at the moment, he's coming to the end of his tenure, and I just feel like there's certain areas that or certain people who are having a dig at him, because of the dementia thing, in players. Now, if a footballer gets dementia, is it because of heading the ball? Is it just because of normal things that happen in life? So now we've got a big scientific sort of survey going on, and I'm part of that survey. Well, they've asked me to do, so I'm doing it, and I've done the first part of it, and now I'm getting to the stage now where I'm going to be getting to the end of it, really. Where I get a sort of personal interview. So I've done telephone things, but the thing is about what I feel about it is that I don't think this has got anything to do with the PFA. This is an illness that arrives in a lot of people. My mother had dementia. And it happens to a lot of other people. But they don't go crying about it from the point of view of saying, well, the PFA aren't doing, or the organisation they work for is not doing anything for them, and yet they've got loads of money. Like, they get lots of money from the television, but the people don't realise where that money's going. They don't realise that there's an educational programme that goes on at all the football clubs. That money goes into supporting the education of all these young kids who join at 16, who then get released at 18 and have got no qualification. So there's also footballers who, when they might have to retire from the game because of an injury early, the PFA, if they want to then go back to university, go and do a degree or something, the PFA will do that. So there's an educational department which looks after anything that players want to do. Part of my sort of work, being a coach educator, was sort of getting the opportunity to go and work with the PFA and improve my coaching qualifications and everything. So, as I say, I had two roles with them, and one of the big things that they came out with was something called the PFA Football in the Community. Now, I don't know whether you've ever heard of this, but football in the community. I just read in that back pass that one of the guys who ran it, a guy called Roger Reed, he's now going to be bringing a book out on it.
Yeah.
And what the football in the community did, to the community. And to put it in a nutshell, the football in the community started in the northwest with 6 clubs. And what it was a government training scheme.
Yeah.
Right. And but it was done from the football club. And what the football so what it was is that an ex-player who was a qualified coach would be the leader of it. Yeah. And they're now being employed by the football club. Yeah. And also through this government scheme.
Yeah.
So the government scheme now was for anyone who was out of work, if they were on the dole, if they wanted now to go and become get a qualification, a level 2 coaching qualification for football, they could then go on this scheme. Yeah. But be working from the football club. So if you were a fan, it was just brilliant. Yeah. So that happened, and that went on for about 2 years, and then eventually, that was a pilot scheme because it went so well, and because everyone thought it was a real hit, and the government were behind it. It went then into all 92 clubs. Yeah. So that was a big project that the PFA got off the ground. Yeah. And it was massive. And what it did to the football clubs and the fans, it was absolutely brilliant, because what started to develop was that the PFA community scheme, to start off with, it was just doing a bit of coaching, but it really did sort of take legs, and started to move into bringing the kids for ground tours, for educational things. And some of the community schemes all around the country were absolutely fantastic about what they were doing, but it was a training scheme, for unemployed people. But it was backed obviously by the football, and it was one of the PFA's really big thing. The second thing that they did, which it's quite interesting, but I ended up on the PFA community scheme working for West Bromwich Albion. But that's another story. We won't go into
probably going to go now, then.
We won't go into that. But so I had about 3 years doing that, and while I was there, Ozzy Ardiles joined the football club.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And they didn't have any reserve team coach, so I remember Ozzy called me into his office, and I sat in his office for about 2 hours talking about all the players, and telling them what I thought about them, because I watched the games, every home game, because it was part of my community scheme. And what I did, I brought in a local team, to come and watch the game, but I'd give them a coaching session for 2 hours beforehand. We'd then take them to the Throttle Supporters Club and give them lunch, and then we'd give them tickets to watch the game in the Rainbow Stand, as it was then. Yeah.
What year was that, Dennis?
This is in the 90. What would it be now? Let me tell you.
Because the Albion had a really good. You're right. Because I actually went to my team.
89 to 92, I did it.
Oh, okay, because that was still going, because my boys were playing football. I mean, he was born in 87, so it'd be 97. So you're looking at the round about the millennium, and we went there, and the lads had some coaching, and I remember going to watch an Albion game as well, and the Albion were very, very good, and I was very impressed with that. In fact, I took my team. We played. Bobby Hope was there at the time at the Baggies, and we give him a game as well. And I looked at the community work that the Albion were doing at that time, and I was extremely impressed with what Albion were doing.
I started all that off. Yeah, that was me. I was the first one in there to get it all going. Johnny Truick took over from me because, as I say, when Ozzy joined, he needed a youth team. He needed a reserve team coach. I went in to have a chat with him to see if if the position was available and if he had anyone in mind. and lo and behold, I got the job.
Yeah.
So I was now sort of coaching, and then obviously at the end of that season, Ozzy left and went to Tottenham, and I ended up then with first team coach with Keith Birkinshaw. Yeah. So, but we had a 4-year contract, but then we were sacked after 18 months, which was probably normal for West Brom at the time. Yeah. And so but that PFA thing, was what got me started. And then a few years later, when the PFA then again an educational scheme then, which again was part of sort of Gordon working with the government and also the Football League and as it was then, is that the scholars at the football club now, they once again were put onto this educational package, and one of the part of the package now was doing the level 2 coaching course, the FA level 2 coaching course. So the country was divided up, and I ended up with about 9 or 10 clubs in the Midlands who I used to go in and take them through this level 2 coaching course. And that was another a really good sort of PFA, working with other organisations, like the FA and also the government in giving the young players from 16 to 18 an opportunity to leave if they got released with a qualification. Yeah. So they had the educational side of it as well. So they would be doing something, something to do in the classroom, but they had this coaching scheme as well. So that was two really big sort of pieces of work that the PFA did, and all the way through his tenure, there was things that was happening all the time that unless you really go out there and read about it, then you don't know. You've got to read about it. You've got to find out. You can't just criticize something, or someone if you've not read up about it, and all you've seen is what other people have said. So from Gordon's point of view, I've underlined tons of stuff in this book which I was going to relate to you, but there's just so much, that he did for like looking after the players. He made sure that the players were got the rights to the to the pictures and everything.
Have players got rights to the pictures?
Yes. Yeah, they do now.
How does that work then? Because I mean, I've been trying to, I've been working with Alan quite closely over the last few years, and we seem to have hit brick walls where there's copyright on photos, and lots of players. Terry Curran's doing another book, and there's copyrights on photographs, and they don't seem to be able to use them. In fact, Phil Hughes, who's George's agent, he corresponded with me not long ago and said even George had to buy photographs of his images, and I said that's wholly wrong. Players should have or should be able to use their image for financial gain for them players. And I've said on podcasts in the past that in this day and age where players have an image right but have no image, whereas players of the past had an image but seem to have no image rights. So how does that work in the modern age then?
Well, today now, I mean, I heard an example of it that. So if BT now used, like the photographs or any images of the players, they've been paid, and they've been paid quite substantial fees. So that image now that they've got, they can use as many times as they want, but the player now has done a deal with them,
So can Dennis Mortimer put up or write a book, and I do think that you should write one, Dennis. I know that lots of players think, well, I don't want to, but there's so many stories, there's so many things that you've got to say, there's so many chapters of your life and photographs and achievements. I think that every player should, so we can look at, there's a record, there's a library of what you did and what you left, your indelible mark, what you left on that game. Can Dennis Mortimer put up a picture of him with the European Cup, and you can earn money from that picture? Because it just strikes me that Getty seem to own everything.
No, you can't. No, so say I wanted to put a picture of me on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then try and flog that T-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't own the copyright to that picture. Yeah.
But you should be able to.
Well, yeah, because but you see, this is where, this is how the players now have got that they now own their rights.
They do, but can we not do it retrospectively?
Well, yeah, that's something that I felt. That,
yeah, I do. I feel strongly about that.
Because if you look at like Getty pictures,
absolutely, yeah.
They have all, but if you want to, so if you want to write a book, yeah, unless you've got your own photographs, someone's taken them for you specifically,
correct,
not a photographer. So if you think about the Villa, you've got Terry Weir, who was our club photographer.
Yeah.
So on the back of every photograph he takes, there's a stamp. Yeah.
Mm.
And it says this is the property of Terry Weir. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to use it, then you need to get in touch with so and so. So there's a number on the back. Yeah. So you can't just I can't just put a book together and then say to the guy, right, let's put all these really nice photographs of me in here.
Yeah. I've
got to pay for them. Yeah. Now it all depends on where you're going to get them from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they probably all have different prices as well, Paul. And what they're charging.
Yeah, it is incredible, and I didn't understand this until I started working a lot closer with Terry Curran and Alan Hudson, and I just think that a third party, that's different. So if I wanted to put a picture of Dennis Mortimer on a T-shirt and sell the T-shirt for profit, that's wrong, because I'm not Dennis Mortimer. If Dennis Mortimer wants to do it, Dennis Mortimer should be able to do it. So should every other former player that's had that image taken. Because when you lifted the European Cup, when you lifted the League Championship, when you lifted the Super Cup, when you played for Aston Villa, Coventry City, or anybody else for that matter, you didn't say to them people, well, I will give you the right to take a photograph of me. It was an unsolicited photograph, the way I see it. Okay, you play for that club, and then within that remit of the club and the photographer comes a contract, but you didn't sign anything to say that was okay. So I think that you should be able to, as a person, be able to replicate that picture for financial gain for yourself.
Yeah, it's the photographer himself, obviously. I think they would have to, pay a fee to be behind a goal or something like that.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Or they're working for an agency who pay that fee.
Mm-hmm.
And so any photograph that they take now, as far as they're concerned, they've got the copyright to it.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul, I have got literally hundreds of photographs which were given to me over the years.
Absolutely.
But I know, like, I talked to Ken McNaught to say to Ken, have you got any photographs? He's got no photographs.
Incredible, isn't it?
And I just think to myself, why haven't you got any photographs? But I was fortunate where I got to know the photographers, you see.
Yeah.
And because I was I like to do a bit of photography, people found out, and then obviously I get to know them, and I'd end up with these photos. But each photograph that I've got has got a copyright stamp on the back of it. Yeah. So I've got no rights to that photo, and yet as you say, you think you should have, because it's you.
Monty Fresco took a picture, I think it was the 72, 73 of Alan and George. And Alan used it for it was the front of the Killing Fields, a book that he'd wrote.
Right.
And I think he had to pay something like £800. And Alan said, with the other podcast that we do, My Life, My Music, he said, could you imagine Frank Sinatra and like putting a picture of Frank Sinatra on a book and somebody saying, well, I want some money.
Yeah.
Do me a favour.
Because these people know they know who took the photo.
Of course
Yeah,
they do,
these
yeah.
photographers.
Yeah.
They can tell whose work it is. They're absolutely amazing. I mean, I had a really good friend called Bob Thomas, who was a young guy who had his own dark room and everything in his house in Northampton, and his mum and dad were big Villa fans, and I got to know him, and he gave me tons and tons of photographs, and he's given me some fantastic photos, yeah. But all these photos now with Getty Images.
It's incredible.
Yeah. He stole them on to Getty Images. You see, they're in there.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. You see, the photographers, they have to pay to do that. Then the photographer sells it to Getty, and then that's it. And then it's all copyright, and you can't do nothing about it. And I just think that copyright issue should be to the benefit of the player.
Yeah, the player. They're making money out of your photograph.
Of course they are, yeah.
Because if there's a way we could do it, we would, as you say, we'd I mean, I've got tons of photographs which I've got on, which I can take a photograph of the photograph and put it on my computer, and then I can print it,
But then again, I don't think you can use that because it's still a photograph of a photograph.
Absolutely, no. But I could autograph it and sell it, but you'd have to be very careful that you didn't do too many of them.
And this is what I'm saying. But but that's not that. It just, to me, it's not fair and it's not right, because you should be able to do that for your financial game. And I just think that there should be if it needs to go to court, a case that a former pro uses his image, somebody sues them, you take them to court and you get image rights, because that's what you need. Retrospective image rights for any photograph that you're in. Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah. Anyway, listen, a couple of things. So one of the really good things that the PFA did for my cohort was that they set up a pension scheme, right? And so obviously first thing they did was get everyone to become a member, because at the start of it all, when Gordon started doing this in the 80s, there wasn't 100% players who were sort of members of the PFA.
Yeah.
But with the work Gordon was doing and the advantages of being part of that, he got then everybody, 100% of the players now became part of the union.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a great deal of money we paid for it.
Yeah.
Well, even today, it's not a lot of money compared to what the players are earning. Yeah. There's no sort of, there's no like the players in the Premier League pay the same as the players in the second division.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's their union fees. There's no like sort of pro rata just because you're earning like £5 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not now being asked to pay a bigger fee from the PFA point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really good is that they set up a players' cash benefit scheme with the Football League and the FA in 1980. Yeah, and what was really good about this is that as a player, one of the big things is that most players might retire probably around 35 if they had a good career.
Yep. And
then what you do after that? Yeah, there was, if now, you've got to wait for your pension at 65.
Yeah,
you've got a long wait, and in between then you've got to find yourself a job which had probably a lot of the time had nothing to do with what you'd been doing before.
Yeah.
So they set up this benefit scheme. Again, it was obviously Gordon, because Gordon was, really behind the economics of the PFA.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was that then when you reached 35 as a player and you retired from the game, you could actually start drawing a pension. Yeah. So that was my case. So from the age of 35, we would pay in before tax into the scheme a certain amount. You're only allowed a certain amount, obviously based on your wages and everything. Yeah, a percentage of it. And so from 35 to today, I still get my pension, from the PFA that was set up then. Now, if I hadn't set that up, then I would have the money that that I've been getting has been a real godsend, because although I've had jobs over the years, I never ever came up to the same level as when I was playing, to be honest, in my later years. So having that scheme was fantastic. It doesn't happen now because obviously the players, because you see at 35, a lot of players came out of the game with nothing. Right. So, but if they had a little pension to come out with now because they put in, payments from the wages they've been earning, most of the time it would be like your bonuses. So you put your bonus, into the scheme. And so it would give you something at the end of it. So that was, again, something really essential to players, where Gordon was thinking about, how can we help the players when they get to 35? And so it went on, and as I say today, it's totally different from the point of what they do. But so in '86, the Footballers' Further Education and Vocational Training Scheme, it was called, which was called FFV plus VTS, was initiated. So that was in '86 when Gordon put the educational scheme together, which was now going to support the YTs, the scholars in the football club. And it goes on. In '86, the Football and the Community scheme was formed by FFE and VTS as well. So incredible things were happening. What is it? Members can apply to the association for grants towards tuition and book costs for courses leading to any recognised qualification. Between July 2006 and July 2007, the department processed a total of 783 such individual grants, totaling almost £500,000. Players at all levels participated. In 2007, Darren Ferguson, Martin Allen, Les Ferdinand, Steve Hodge successfully completed a certificate of applied management at Warwick University, while Daniel Gabrielson, ex-Wigan Athletic, achieved a first in the Bachelor's Science in Physiotherapy at Salford University. So the days when graduate footballers like Steve Highway could be treated as quaint curios seem to be long gone. So the educational side was a big thing, and so the players could apply. They could get grants for them, you see, and it just went on and on and on. 1994, the PFA commissioned an inquiry into coaching practices worldwide, culminating in a 1995 report, Kick in the Right Direction, which called for greater consultation between the FA and the PFA in player and coach development. It stressed the need for greater involvement from coaches who have played the game at professional level rather than former school teachers. The association was subsequently asked to nominate former players to sit on the 5 liaison committees of the FA's Centres of Excellence. In 1996, it decided to employ players who had qualified as FA coaches on a full-time basis to provide coaching service to professional clubs. That was me. That was me. Helping other players and ex-players who wish to become coaches. A year later, a freestanding PFA coaching department was established, originally overseen by ex-Man City forward Paul Power, and subsequently by Jimmy Ornfield, who was also the FA's technical consultant. So it was things that were happening all the time, Paul, and this continued throughout Gordon's tenure, as the man in charge of the PFA. And what he did for it, was keep the focus of what it was all about, and that was protecting the players. And that's what it still does today. It helps and protects the players. So when people like Chris Sutton, sort of talk about, he came out with very emotive sort of talk about blood on his hands just recently. Because again, it was emotion that was coming out of him. And I thought I'd just check up on the conversations that Gordon's had, and I went on the internet and looked at it. And Gordon, when you talk to him, he's very calm. He never gets angry.
He's always come across that way, hasn't he?
I've heard him so many times on Radio 5 when Nicky Campbell was trying to bait him, and he just wouldn't raise to the bait, and he was a real diplomat in that way. And so, when I see an ex-player, having a go at Gordon and talking that way, I just feel they need to be educated a little bit more into what the PFA does.
Yeah.
The emotion of this dementia thing is really getting to a lot of people because it's getting I talk to all my ex-players, all my ex-mates, and none of us think that the PFA, have done anything wrong, to do with anything to do with illness. I mean, the PFA. I mean, a couple of things I've done. A couple of years ago, I was asked to be part of a survey on looking at players' ankles and knees.
Yeah.
And I had X-rays on my knees and my ankles. Yeah. All paid for by the PFA, just to see how we are. Now, if you wanted to now talk about, sort of injuries that you get from doing the job you do, then I think footballers could actually complain a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. The training we did, the running we did, but it was all part of something that we enjoyed, Paul.
And the injections that you were given.
Yeah. We weren't people working down a coal mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were living the life we wanted to live, and we were enjoying it, and we were getting paid decent money for it. Like the players of today, we talk about them being overused and players, but they've today football clubs have got so much more support to help their players keep their fitness, or to look at any stresses that are being put on the body, because the top clubs now have got the best people working for them to make sure, because they want the best players on the football pitch, so it's, for me, I just feel that, you've got to know a little bit more about a person and what they've done, instead of now just jumping on a bandwagon and being very emotional about it because of something that might have happened to someone in your family. And to me, as I said earlier on, I think Gordon, really deserves people to push the fact that he really needs now, people behind him and recognising the job he did and putting all these things out that he's done over the last 40 years and saying this man deserves more than what some people are actually doing at the moment. And I just feel so strongly about it. But I don't, people like me, where do I get a voice now to be able to push Gordon Taylor?
You've just got one.
Well, I've got one now, which is great. I've got one now, but it's like a lot of things. You just hope then that someone else will take up, that sort of relay baton.
I think what it is, when we first started talking about Gordon, and I did say it was a little bit of what did the Romans do for us, and I think what happens is the media drive a narrative, and people just look at that, and that's all that they see. But when people listen to your opinions, your knowledge, your views, your how you've lived through being a player, being a former player, working for and with the Professional Footballers Association, they might just think, but you know what? Why is it that all we ever get is a negative connotation of what Gordon Taylor has done, but we never get the other side of the coin? Why is that? And I think it's healthy when players like you give the other side of the coin, because for every head on that coin, there's tails as well. There are two sides to the coin, but we only ever seem to get the one side, and that's imbalanced, and that's unfair.
It is unfair.
But yeah, it is unfair, Dennis, but sadly that's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is the way. And and when you, as I say, go back to this book that I mentioned about, the PFA, what they did, I'm looking at this book, and there was a poster went up. Do you remember when David Boost?
Yes.
He broke his leg.
At Old Trafford,
that horrific challenge, And there's a picture of a massive poster that went up. Players put their limbs on the line every Saturday. The PFA pick up the piece. And it's got like PFA fighting for the players' rights. And there was quite a few of those. there's a bit of a campaign that was going on actually, because there was lots of, you know, obviously the Premier League was coming into play, and all about money and television rights.
Yep.
And Gordon, you know, he was keen to make sure that the PFA didn't miss out on it. And an interesting thing is that people don't realise as well is that he put himself forward, or he was put forward, to become chief executive. What was it, Graham Kelly? If you remember.
Yeah, I remember him.
Well, he was going to leave the Football League, and in early 1989 to become chief executive of the FA, and there were moves went on for Gordon Taylor to replace him. So Gordon now was a man in demand, because he was well capable of doing it. But it's quite interesting. There was an immediate outcry. 3 league management committee members, John Smith of Liverpool, Doug Ellis of Aston Villa, and Robert Chase of Norwich, were determined to oppose Taylor's appointment, even though Fox insisted that he had the backing of the clubs. I have been elected for the 92 league clubs, and my platform included Gordon Taylor. Now, the guy Fox we're talking about was, where is he now? Yeah, trying to think. He was obviously someone to do with the Football League. Yeah. Probably the general secretary or something. And as far as he was concerned, he felt that Gordon was the right man for the job. Mm-hmm. But he was he never got that job. But what happened is that because of he did say he would take it, but he'd actually just signed a 5-year contract with the PFA. But the committee, and when you look at the people that sat on the committee, you know, at the PFA, it was the hastily convened PFA management committee, attended by Nigel Spackman, Colin Gibson, Trevor Morgan, Garth Crooks, and David Mercer, the PFA lawyer, were adamant that Taylor must stay. Crooks explained, events since last Friday have satisfied the committee that Gordon could not be guaranteed the support and backing he enjoys at the PFA if he joined the league. Gordon fully understands and accepts our reasoning. He has set a marvellous example to everyone in football that contracts are there to be honoured by all. Yeah, so, you know, he wasn't getting the support from the Football League. So, you know, the committee decided that, well, we want him here. Yeah, we want him to stay. And Gordon stayed, you know, and so on and so forth. And, you know, then he became a member of FIFA, you know, and he was a man who people wanted to talk to. Yeah. he had a great way of bargaining and talking to people, and you know, and it's quite interesting because, as I say, I was reading on the internet just earlier about, you know, he had a meeting with one of the people who was, you know, sort of about this dementia thing, and they weren't happy with Gordon's attitude within the meeting. It's probably because he didn't get into an argument. Yeah. He probably just sat there and was so matter of fact that the person who was talking to him was probably expecting him to get angry so that they could have a slanging match, and then he could go away and say, you know, I was beaten up by Gordon Taylor. Yeah. You know, but that's not the case. Gordon would never be like that. You know, he's and just in the paper today, you know, in the Telegraph, there's an article about there's 276 former players now have been diagnosed with dementia, apparently. Yeah. This is what the Players' Union said. And as the chief executive denied being asleep at the wheel on the risk of heading the ball. So, you know, what Gordon's been doing is that they've been fully aware of everything. Yeah. And he's not been asleep. He says that during because he went to in front of a committee yesterday. Yeah, he did. The Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee. Yeah. And during a grilling by MPs, Taylor also suggested that it was ridiculous of a scientist to suggest football's response to the heading crisis was a shambles. Yeah. And you know, as Gordon knows, is that you know, he's at the forefront of it. Yeah. And he knows what's going on, and he doesn't need, you know, doctors and all that now being you know, sort of pushing out there false information again, that they're not aware of and what's been going on, just because they want a headline.
Yeah.
And it's all headlines. You know, these kind of things are all about grabbing the headline, and you know, and from that point of view, you know, that's why Gordon's so good. Yeah. He said it's a very emotive subject. This is Gordon said, Taylor, of Sutton's criticism. Chris Sutton is one of those people I speak to in a civilized manner.
Yeah.
I tried to explain he was offered help in regards to his father, who was a contemporary of his when he was playing. He was offered the chance to come in, see what we were doing and what we plan to do in the future. So Gordon's given him that opportunity, to come and talk about it. But I think they just don't want to be. They want to feel as if that what they're doing has been all wrong.
Yeah.
And they don't want to apologise. Yeah. And it's difficult when you've got to apologise to somebody who you've really had a go at, and have criticised, but you've not really got the facts. So, you know, people like Chris Sutton need to understand that the PFA, I don't know why he's got a grudge against this. I'd love to know why he's taken up this crusade.
Yeah, he certainly seemed to on social media as well, didn't he?
Absolutely, that's right. He's taken up a crusade, which from my point of view, it's always people who have got, you know, something, I think, to say that's putting people down, you know, and it's the minority get a voice, whereas the majority just think, well, we know what's true, we don't really need to say anything. But I just feel like, you know, from my point of view, I'm a really big supporter of Gordon, and I know what he's done for the PFA, and I really feel that people should be on his case and supporting him.
Well, listening to you, Dennis, I don't know about an honour or a knighthood. I think they should be putting a statue up of Gordon Taylor for what he's done for former players. And I know for a fact, because I speak to Alan a lot, he's helped Alan out. And I think that what tends to happen and what has happened is there's been an awful lot of what Gordon Taylor, in their opinions, hasn't done. But again, going back to the coin scenario, you don't hear of anything that Gordon Taylor has done, and he has done an awful lot since 1982. And if he was that bad, he surely wouldn't have stayed in office for that long. And what would Gordon's legacy be as he leaves office? Because I think we could probably go on for another 2 hours and my phone will probably explode again, because there's that many. If you're looking at you're looking at pros and cons, aren't you, and fors and against.
Yes.
Nothing that the fors with Gordon Taylor at the PFA will outweigh the against unbelievably.
That's right, they will. If you look at the history of PFA,
absolutely.
You know, I mean, so the Facebook that they brought out, I remember was called For the Good of the Game, the official history of the Professional Football Association. And again, this one came out when I was actually working with the PFA, and it really is, you know, another illustration of what the PFA is all about, and that's what Gordon was all about. I think it's an apt title, For the Good of the Game, and that's what Gordon's been trying to do. Yeah, he's not been trying to rip fans off. He's been trying to make a footballer's life and what happens after he's finished playing football. One that's good. One that they can. So when they stop playing football, if anything does happen and they need some support from the PFA are there to do that. And there's a limit to what they can do. Of course. Because if everyone wanted now to have massive operations and all that, which you know is cost prohibitive, you know, then and there was lots of it, then the PFA would soon run out of money. But there's a balance to everything, Paul. You know, and that balance is where the PFA's money goes, and it's spread quite very widely, you know, over the football game. And you know, I've mentioned the things where it was really successfully. And, you know, people want to know about Gordon Taylor and the PFA. Then they need to read a little bit more about it and what the man's done. And you see, the man doesn't force himself on people. You know, he's not someone out there now, you know, sort of in the paper every day trying to justify what the PFA are doing from the point of view of the dementia thing. He just responds, to what people say about it.
Yeah.
So, but he's not going to go out there and sort of shout from his soapbox, about what the PFA are doing, because if you know about it, you'll know what they're doing, for players. And I certainly know what they do for players. And if ever I needed them, I know where to go, as a next player. They look after me. I haven't played football now, I'm always a member of the PFA, because I played football. So it never stops working for me. And that's why I feel what Gordon's done for the PFA is it's all for the good of the game. Yeah. And I think for me, I just feel that his legacy should be better explored. Yeah. When he does leave. So when he does leave at the end of this, there needs to be a lot of people out there sort of pushing what he's done. Yeah. And not what's happened just recently, more foremost in people's minds. Yeah. It's about what he's done in those 40 years. And everything should be itemised so that people have got a better opinion of it.
There certainly should be a lot more balance, Dennis, and I think that you have put a fantastic case across for Gordon Taylor, and anybody listening to this podcast will be a little bit more educated. And when the great man leaves his office, let's hope there's a lot more positivity than negativity. But with the media as it is today, negativity sells papers, and that appears to be what the narrative is. But you've put the record straight, mate, and we will reconvene in a couple of weeks' time, and we will do another Mortys Mixtapes where we're going to talk about the Youth Cup, because Aston Villa have got to the semi-final of the Youth Cup. You played in the Youth Cup final in 1970 against Graham Souness and Steve Perryman. So we're going to leave that on the back burner for the next episode. And anything in that time that you want to talk about, we will bring it to the fore.
Yes, and we didn't even get around to the Super League.
We certainly didn't, but in a couple of weeks' time, we're looking at tonight that we've got the European Cup, the Champions League semi-final, and in May, we're going to be celebrating Aston Villa winning the European Cup final. So we can roll it all into the next episode of Mortys Mixtapes. And I'm also expecting another mixtape from Sir Dennis Mortimer.
Good stuff, Paul.
Cheers, pal.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
And we've also got on the next one Copa Pele as well. So we've got 3 talking points, plus a little bit of what's going on in the meantime as well. Can I thank you, sir, for your time tonight? And,
it's been a pleasure, Paul.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Nice to have a voice. It's nice to have a voice.
Well, like I said to you, Dennis, anytime you want the voice, you've only got to tell me. I'll phone you up and we'll record it. And that goes for all of the players that you played with in that class of 81 and 82 and the celebrations of 40 years ago. Shoresy, hopefully, is next. But whether it be Ken, whether it be Des, whether it be Alan, whether it be whoever, I'm there for all of you to record your memories of a fantastic feat of football in this area.
Good stuff.
Cheers, pal. Till next time. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Paul. Bye-bye.
And thanks for listening, guys. Thank you. Up the Villa. I'll get killed for that. Cheers, pal.
Ta-ra.
Thanks, Dennis. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey marketers, want a matchmaker to set you up with your perfect audience? Well, look no further. Get intimate right away with host-read sponsorships with Acast. Use Acast's self-serve ad platform to search and partner up with a podcaster or two from our network of more than 100,000 shows. Have them sing your praises in their own words. And get their listeners ready to be wooed into loyal customers. It's the ultimate loving endorsement. Book host-read sponsorships with Acast. Head to go.acast.com/closer to get started.